Man, oh man, there really are some weeks where decades happen, aren't there? So this is gonna be quite a special one tonight, I dare say. Mr. PQ is out tonight with some emergency health issues, so everyone hope that he's feeling much better. Standing in tonight is my good friend, Mr. Paul Fahrenheidt. Welcome to the show, my friend.
And Dollar Store Pete Quinones returns. Thanks for having me.
Don't sell yourself that short, my friend. You're like a $2 store. Peak Nonas. Come on now.
That's a
Anyway,
100% increase.
it is a 100% increase indeed. Well, it's good to have you. No guest this week because there's some serious stuff that needs to be discussed tonight, and we have a lot to get through. But first, as always, we must get through all of the shillings to people who keep the lights on over here at Pony Express Radio. So, as always, everyone go check out Axios Remote Fitness and Coaching if you guys want to get swole and shredded. And now it's becoming more important than ever to be in physical fitness, not just for White Boy Summer, but also just let's just say people are coming under attack these days. So you got to be prepared, got to be physically fit. So head on over to Axios Remote Fitness and Coaching. In addition to being physically fit, you got to have your wits about you. All right? And the best way to do that is a good shot of some caffeine. So those of you who are caffeine drinkers, head on over to Fox and Sons Coffee and get yourself some of the best coffee on the online right for sure. I've heard nothing but fantastic reviews from all of you coffee enjoyers out there. All right. And finally, of course, head on over to Alp nicotine pouches. For those of you that are fans of tobacco, we here at the OGC are certainly stands for big tobacco, of course. So get yourself your fix with Alp nicotine pouches. All right. Some other news around. Everyone better be watching American Spirits on Monday with Charlemagne and Turnip Seed. Those guys are doing some amazing historical work over there that is going to be let's just say evergreen content addressing the great question of our day. What is an American? Those guys have been doing some amazing stuff going through not only the founding documents of America, things like the Articles of Confederation that they've been doing most recently, but also just the historic groups that came to actually make up the founding of this country, whether it be the Puritans, the Scots-Irish, the Southern Gentry, everything, the Cavaliers, all of them. So be sure to check out what they're doing over there at American Spirits. And then, of course, if you guys are looking to, here we go.
Real quick, sorry, on American Spirits, just to further emphasize this, right? What they are really attempting to do is to construct a coherent historiographical narrative that brothers of the club and really anyone who supports the club and what the club is doing, what they're really trying to do is construct a historiographic narrative of what the United States is, what its people are, what its culture has been, what it can be. So I have to further emphasize to the viewer how important American Spirits is. And my personal favorite episode that they've done so far is the H.L. Mencken's language episode.
That's my personal favorite one too. My other favorite was the Frontier. That one
that's
was
another one, good one.
A favorite of mine as well. But yeah, that Mencken episode was really good. I like that one quite a bit. So yeah, everyone be checking out American Spirits.
Sorry for interrupting. I just wanted to emphasize it.
No, it bears emphasis. So, and then also on Wednesdays, check out the Chapter House, hosted by Mr. Not Me, Not You, taking a look at all of the various OGC chapters around the entire country. They're all doing some pretty awesome stuff. And you too can get involved and be in a chapter by checking out our website, theoldgloryclub.com. You can see our chapters page, see that they're popping up all over the country. You too can join one of those, or you can start up your own. Also, we are taking submissions once again for our Substack. People will know this, that we have articles coming out Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Some particularly good ones in the last week in the wake of the dearly departed Mr. Charlie Kirk. So head on over to our Substack and check that stuff out. If you too would like to write for us, send us an email. We'll get you in touch with the editors. If they think it's up to our editorial standard, you too might be able to be published on the OGC Substack. So head on over to that. Okay. Well, with that out of the way, we got to jump right into it tonight. So the big story for this evening, obviously, is the sad passing and murder of conservative activist Mr. Charlie Kirk. It's been a week now, and what we're going to do on this show tonight is give some grades for the various members of the Trump team, how they've responded, what rhetoric is coming out of the Trump White House, what people have been talking about in the past week since Charlie Kirk's murder. So we're going to start let's just say there's some good, there's some bad, and then there's certainly some ugly in this group. But why don't we start with the good? Number one, let's go to Vice President J.D. Vance and see what he has to say first. Mr. Vance was making multiple appearances this week. Let's first go to the fact that he hosted Mr. Charlie Kirk's show, actually live from the White House this week. So we can have some clips of Mr. J.D. Vance coming up here. So it was also on Fox News a bunch too. So I think this is when he was in the he was in Michigan this week. He had a rally for workers' rights and whatnot in Michigan. So let's hear what Vice President Vance has to say.
The shooter's mother, you talk to the shooter's father, you talk to the local district attorney, you talk to the FBI director or the deputy director of the FBI. You look at every ounce of evidence that we have, and it is clear. This is a person who grew up in a pretty normal family, actually had a pretty good home life, who was radicalized by the far left, by the social networks of the far left, by the ideas of the far left, and got so far down the path of radicalization that he killed my friend. That is not a both sides problem. My friend is dead because of left-wing political radicalization, and if you want to cut that out, then be honest about it and look yourself in the mirror.
Alrighty, so this is echoing almost all of the rhetoric that the vice president has been talking about over the last week. Vice President Vance was also one of the ones who was carrying Charlie Kirk's casket in Arizona when he was transported back home. He's been there every step of the way for his dearly departed friend. His rhetoric, much like this one that we just saw in this clip when he actually hosted the Charlie Kirk show, was all the same, essentially not counter-signaling anybody on the right, not talking about both sides-isms, not saying that, we need to come together. No, it's very much stay on target. The problems with the left are radicals. The media are riling people up. The rhetoric continues to incite violence from people time and time again. Vice President Vance, he gets an A+ for the last week.
Yeah, I think I concur. I have nothing but good things to say about him. He has said everything right. I think we all know that he has an alt account and just follows all of us on his alt account. Not and sometimes even his main account, but like he very much, I think of all the people in the administration, he has to be the one that's the most in touch with what our scene is talking about on the agorum of Twitter. And so he finds a way to address every and has found a way to address every possible critique we could have of the administration, and also simultaneously kind of shame the rest of the administration for not being as firm on this. And I absolutely love this. I love it particularly from him. We have some other clips coming up, but I absolutely love this kind of ending of this faux both sidesism, ending of this, this is a right-wing problem too. And no, this is the facts simply do not bear it out. And this is something we've been talking about for a very long time. The fact that the problem is being called the problem, and one side, the side that is causing the issues, is finally being singled out and blamed, and hopefully corrective punishment ensues because of it. So yes, I agree with you. A+ for Vance.
Yeah, I mean, people have seen all of the left come out in droves. Their activists and their media people are citing the ADL and the SPLC and all these other fraudulent organizations who apparently keep track of terrorism in the United States. And all these numbers point to, well, the number one cause for terrorism in the United States actually comes from the right. And then when you actually dig into these statistics further, what they classify as right-wing terrorism, number one, the majority of it is Islamic terrorism, which is like, okay, you're going to classify that as the right because you just immediately associate religiosity from the right. I mean, okay, whatever, right? But then you actually look into it further and they classify any single usage of a racial slur whatsoever is immediately classified as right-wing. So you could have a Pajit who's running a 7-Eleven decides to shoot at like 3 black guys, and he drops the N-bomb in the process of shooting these 3 black guys who are robbing his store. And that for is right-wing terrorism. That was literally one of the cases that was on the SPLC website. So it's like, yeah, we all know these statistics are openly fraudulent. They're ridiculous, but the people in the media are going to preach this stuff anyway. And it's very easy for characters on Trump's side or in the Republican, the House, the Senate, or what have you, can get caught with their pants down by some of these statistics. But JD Vance has actually done a very, very good job of not falling for these linguistic traps. There are other people in the administration who have fallen face first into these traps, and we're going to get to those people in a bit here. But Vice President Vance is doing an excellent job of staying on target nonstop. This is not both sides. The left are radicals. The left are encouraging violence. The left are inciting people to act in this certain way. Their collaborators in the media and the NGO networks are responsible for this, and they killed my friend, which I think is very, very important for people to be stressing. We talk about one of the central tenets of masculinity and just honor in general is you stand by your friends. You never betray a friend. And JD Vance is doing a very, very good job with this, I would say.
Yeah, and to the detriment and to the shame of the rest of the administration, except for maybe his immediate superior. I am very grateful that he is number 2 in the administration, because at least the subordinates not kind of carrying on the fervor is to be expected. So I think we've been blessed by this, and I give him my fullest compliments. I just wish he could do more.
Indeed. All right, let's move on. So Vice President Vance, he gets an A+ for the week. Moving on to Stephen Miller is the next person that we're going to cover on this one. So we have a clip of Stephen Miller right here. This was actually on the Charlie Kirk show that Vice President Vance hosted from the White House. So let's hear what Stephen Miller has to say.
I will write those words onto my heart, and I will carry them out. The people ask me, what emotions I'm feeling right now. This is something people say. You kind of know the answer. There's incredible sadness, but there's incredible anger. And the thing about anger is that unfocused anger or blind rage is not a productive emotion.
Right.
But focused anger, righteous anger, directed for a just cause is one of the most important agents of change in human history.
Charlie showed that. Amen.
And we are going to channel all of the anger that we have over the organized campaign that led to this assassination to uproot and dismantle these terrorist networks. So let me explain a little bit what that means. So,
you got 30 seconds, so be quick, Stephen.
The organized doxing campaigns, the organized riots, the organized street violence, the organized campaigns of dehumanization, vilification, posting people's addresses, combining that with messaging that's designed to trigger and incite violence, and the actual organized cells that carry out and facilitate the violence, it is a vast domestic terror movement. And with God as my witness, we are going to use every resource we have at the Department of Justice, Homeland Security, and throughout this government to identify, disrupt, dismantle, and destroy these networks and make America safe again for the American people. It will happen, and we will do it in Charlie's name.
Thank you, Stephen. Don't go away. I'll be joined by a guest of friends just in a few seconds. See you soon.
All right. Echoing much what Vice President Vance was talking about, Stephen Miller, again, I've described him as a T-1000 before on this show, the single-handed focus on just deporting as many people as possible. But he came out from the work. We actually got reports this week of the now 2 million immigrants that have left the country in the last 6 months. We'll get to that in a bit here. But Stephen Miller coming out and focusing on the actual NGO side of this. He's actually been the one who's been focusing on the NGOs more than anybody else in the administration in the last week. He's just talking about nonstop. They have these networks. We're going after them. We know what they are. And watch this space. So what do you think, Mr. Fahrenheidt?
Well, I'm really, really, really grateful that Stephen Miller is actually going out and very publicly kind of airing out the actual systemic nature of this problem, because we all know this, a lot of people make money off of this. And even the ones that don't, they really want to see the policy change that the left want to bring about in terms of utterly transforming the spirit of America. So in terms of substance, I think I would put Miller even higher than Vance. Vance is an A+ overall, because in terms of rhetoric, in terms of the substance he'll mention, in terms of alleviating concerns, I think overall he's an A+. And I would give Miller an A+ in terms of like the actual substantive, like this is exactly the policy that we're going to pursue. But overall, I'm going to give him an A- due to reasons entirely out of his control.
I would give him an A, but yes, not as great as the vice president for reasons, but still Stephen Miller continues to be my favorite guy, actually, in the Trump cabinet, aside from the vice president, the president himself, of course. But yeah, Stephen Miller doing a very good job. It's important for a lot of normies, like people in our thing. We've known about the NGO networks for a long time, and it's not just like the boogeyman of George Soros, that somebody like Alex Jones or anyone on Fox News would talk about all the time, right? There is a vast network of these leftist NGOs that ensure that piles of bricks are shown up for Antifa rioters to destroy things. They work to ensure that various criminals get off on lesser charges. They ensure that certain activists, lawyers, and judges are placed in certain areas to allow these people to continue their depravity. There is a huge network of people here that are siphoning off billions upon billions of taxpayer dollars through things like USAID. And these things need to be looked into, need to be RICO'd, they need to be thrown in prison, need to be shut down. We're going to talk about the Antifa terrorist organization designation in a bit here, but really that's just, you got to cut off the head of the snake, and the NGOs are the head of this snake.
Yeah, and it's not just that they're politically motivated. You got to understand a lot of these people are just outright gangsters, right? They have links to the cartels, they have links to drug pushers, right? Much the same way that like the typical Aryan Nation prison gangs and seedier biker gangs kind of act as runners for the cartels. These leftoids, they do the exact same thing, just in a different way. So you don't even necessarily, this isn't entirely political to a lot of them. A lot of them are just outright gangsters.
All right, absolutely. Well, so we'd have to keep watching this. This one is, in some ways, this is the most important one of all the issues that we've been discussing, but it's also the one's going to take the longest, sadly. We're going to talk about President Trump here in a minute and about how the last week we haven't seen any huge, bold actions of like anybody getting arrested, frankly, and that's definitely a huge problem. But on this NGO stuff, these RICO cases that they're hopefully are going to be filing against these people are going to take weeks, if not months, sadly. I wish that the administration had everything on lock with this beforehand, but unfortunately, in the world we are now, late is better than never, and we just have to we have to take what we're given in times like this. Unfortunately, the administration should have been proactively looking into this stuff ever since the assassination attempt on President Trump's life over a year ago now, but now they're scrambling at this point. They're making signals that they are going to do this. We have to hold them to the fire over the next coming weeks and months to make sure that they are actually continuing on this front. This is just something that must be done 100%. If you cannot protect Charlie Kirk, who is a personal friend to Donald Trump for years and was one of Donald Trump's strongest political assets and political actors, you can't protect anybody in your base. This is just something the Trump team has to do at this point. You have to take the fight to the left. There is no going back anymore.
100%. And if they don't do it, the window of opportunity is closing, right? The exact same thing happened, and a lot of people besmirch Reagan, and I'm not going to sing the praises of Ronald Reagan now, but what happened with Reagan and under Reagan was a massive rightward surge within the United States. Particularly with the people who were attached to the moral majority that he brought in. And what happened after Reagan got out of office, and you kind of had this Bush, transitionary period when Bill Clinton was elected in 92. That's when PatCon, and what that may be important to those of you who don't know, because that's Ruby Ridge, Waco, all of the other DOJ abuses where the DOJ was functionally weaponized against the right wing as official state policy by the Clinton administration. And ultimately, Trump is an even further rightward shift than Reagan was, or at least contemporary, adjusted for demographic change. It's comparable. And it's entirely possible that if this moment is not seized, this is the moment where the left can be killed once and for all, or at least destroyed for a very long time, because the RICO charges are being brought up. They're doing a lot of rhetoric about attacking the funding of the left, not just the left, right? Up to and including indicting the whole DNC in this, because I think, you can find something on just about everyone in the DNC on this, right? If this isn't done, what's to stop let's say Gavin Newsom or someone else coming under the Bill Clinton, whatever, in 4 to 8 years. What's to stop that? And then them trying to do the exact same thing that Bill Clinton did in the 90s of bringing the hammer of state power on the right that humiliated them an election cycle ago. I mean, I personally think that these are the terms in which the administration needs to be thinking.
Yep, absolutely. You will never get another opportunity like this when everybody is just so fired up right now. There's been a huge shift in America throughout the conservative sphere, just actually in normies themselves. You know, it's I don't know. I wish we we could talk to somebody who's a little bit older on the stream tonight, but we just aren't going to have the opportunity. I mean, I was in elementary school when 9/11 occurred. You know, it was really hard for me to actually gauge the feeling of the country at the time. But from people I've spoken to who were older, they feel a shift in this country since the Charlie Kirk assassination, significantly more than September 11th. Just something has shifted in the air, and we'll talk about that more later. But so JD Vance gets an A+. Stephen Miller, we'll give him an AA-. Well done. Let's move on to actual President Trump this time, who let's just start with the first actually presser he gave was on Fox and Friends the morning after the Charlie Kirk assassination. He actually went to, I guess their offices are in New York or they're in D.C. or whatever. So Trump went over there first, and this is what he had to say.
The right oftentimes are radical because they don't want to see crime. They don't want to see crime.
Worried about the border.
They're saying, we don't want these people coming in. We don't want you burning our shopping centers. We don't want you shooting our people in the middle of the street. The radicals on the left are the problem. And they're vicious and they're horrible and they're politically savvy. Although they want men and women sports, they want transgender for everyone. They want open borders.
All right. President Trump echoed this opinion again about not counter-signaling to the far right, to the media. Let's listen to that clip as well, and then we can give our reactions to President Trump for this week.
If you look at the problem is on the left. It's not on the right, like some people like to say on the right. The problem we have is on the left. And when you look at the agitators, you look at the scum that speaks so badly of our country, the American flag burnings all over the place, that's the left, that's not the right.
All righty, and we got one more from President Trump, who was also talking about the RICO cases coming against NGO networks and such, so we can listen to that one as well, and then we'll talk about President Trump over the last week.
But you know, they have professional agitators. They're professional. I had one the other night. I went into a restaurant, and this woman stood up. I looked at her immediately. She had money. She wasn't serious. They get paid for it. They're professional from Soros and other people. And we're going to look into Soros because I think it's a RICO case against him and other people. Because this is more than like protests. This is real agitation. This is riots on the street. And we're going to look into that.
All right. So on the start of this, again, President Trump, he's given good rhetoric on this for sure. Again, not counter-signaling people on the right, not saying this is both sides-isms, not falling into, we need to don't look back in anger, not saying that, we got to come for unity, we got to come for peace, and then also talking about the fact that the radicals on the right just want to stop crime and not burn the American flag. All very, very good things coming from the president. Other things that I guess the biggest thing that I will say about this, the mark against President Trump, a lot of people are throwing around this clip online of Trump after the 25th news conference he's had over the past 7 days since Charlie Kirk's murder. He had the one Trump moment where he just had to talk about the extension being built on the White House with the ballroom and stuff. Listen, I think people are blowing that kind of thing way, way out of proportion on this one. Okay. It's like, you're getting questioned 25 times on Charlie Kirk. You're going to talk about something else at some point. That one's not really that big of a deal to me. Okay. I just don't think it's very productive at all to be playing this kind of Monday morning quarterback stuff of reading people's minds about what they're actually feeling about the death of their friend or something like that, or how people are grieving or mourning, or the fact that the president is over in the UK over the last couple of days. A lot of people were saying Trump just needs to be here in the United States at all times until this Charlie Kirk stuff is taken care of. It's like you're just living in fairy tale land at that point, dude. Like it's just not realistic, right? I mean, Vice President Vance has been there every step of the way. For Charlie Kirk, was there carrying the casket. So that criticism of Trump, I don't think is well warranted at all. What I will say is if the FBI can round up a bunch of grannies by geo-tracking their cell phone locations and looking at their faces and raiding their houses at 2 a.m. for taking a tour through the Capitol building on January 6th, right? Then President Trump should have absolutely dragged some people in front of the news cameras and thrown them in the back of some black Suburbans this week. The fact that we haven't arrested anybody in the last week, aside from the shooter himself, is just unacceptable as far as I'm concerned. It's really, really important to have a great big show of strength on this one, show that we're moving forward. The rhetoric has been great, but rhetoric is only going to carry us so far. I would give President Trump a B for the last week.
Yeah, I was gonna concur with you on that. But the thing is, man, with Trump, it's like 1,000 little things. He'll do 1,000 little things that'll kind of add up. Because today he was telling Ilhan Omar to go back to Somalia, and calling for Congress to just kick her out, which I actually think is very funny. Whether it actually happens, I'd like to see it, but very funny. What is it? And earlier today, he got the CDC finally argued that all the 18-month, I think I actually have them, the measles, mumps, rubella, and chickenpox vaccine, which is typically the 18-month vaccine, that's now kicked back to kids have to be 4 for that. That's actually a major victory that the CDC issued today as far as the long-term health of our children, right? Because again, the problem with the vaccines, in large part, it's not so much like the effects of the vaccines themselves, although, again, I'm sure medical professionals can disagree with me. But the problem with those vaccines is the fact that kids that young are not supposed to be given like 500 vaccines in one shot, right? They're not developed enough. They're not grown enough. Their immune systems can't handle it. And plenty of parents will constantly talk about how their kids changed after the 18-month shot. They regress. They stop talking. They've changed. They don't act the same, right? And really, there was no reason why that many vaccines had to be pushed that quickly within the vaccine schedule, right? But I don't want to get into the fact of, you don't need to hear any more about big pharma lobbying in order to make this possible. But the fact that the CDC issued that earlier today is, I think, another major win. So that, and on top of humiliating Keir Starmer and everything else, I'm going to bring him up to a B+. Because again, you're not going to be an A until, like you said, you have black Suburbans going around. You're putting some kind of scalp on the table. And this has been the biggest thing with the Trump administration, is that he has not made any public examples of anyone, right? And I think that's really what people wanted to see, not out of like a bloodlust or any sense. I'm sure a great many people did have a bloodlust, and that shouldn't be the reason why you want this, but just to see justice done. Right. To see the people who have committed all of these crimes, who have, taken advantage of the United States, taken advantage of the power and the authority that they were given, seeing them brought to justice in a very blatant and public manner. And that hasn't been done. And that's going to keep hurting the Trump administration until it happens. And, better late than never if it does happen. But ultimately, it just hasn't happened yet. And that's going to keep hurting him. Yes, the rhetoric is good. Yes, he's gotten some victories. I think 48 or 51 or however many of his nominees were finally put in today. And hopefully that'll cause some things to change within the administration. But again, I always say this, it's better to give leadership the benefit of the doubt, but I'm in complete agreement with you. There's absolutely no reason he couldn't have had some pre-mapped out leftist networks that he could have just immediately raided, right, under very clear charges, and he just hasn't so far. And so, again, that's why I give him a B+, and really the only thing that's going to keep him, it's the only thing that's really keeping him out of the A category. But anyway, that's what I got to say.
Absolutely. I mean, whether people want to admit it or not, President Trump was saved by the hand of God from an assassin's bullet last year. And they really should have acted on this as soon as they got into the White House and as soon as they got into power. Maybe people in the administration thought that the leftist violence would tone down after the election, that democracy was served and the tempers would cool a little bit and people wouldn't be doubling down on this. We all knew better. The people on our side of things knew the left was going to come back with a vengeance. The violence was going to increase. The rhetoric was not being toned down, and something like this was going to happen again. And unfortunately, it happened to not only one of the most successful and important conservative activists in the country, but it also just happened to be a personal friend of not only the president, but also the vice president of the United States. And whether anyone likes to admit this or not, had they gone more hard on these people immediately at the start of the administration, it is not within the realms of possibility that Charlie Kirk would still be alive right now. The hand of Providence is continually trying to put President Trump in the direction of actually putting the screws onto these people, bringing the hammer of justice down onto these evil people that are continuing to call for violence, dancing on the graves of Charlie Kirk, a father, a family man who is never going to be able to hug his children ever again. The administration needs to round up some people. They need a big show of strength on this one. They cannot afford to look weak like they aren't doing anything. Again, this rhetoric is great, but not everybody is watching Fox News. Not everybody is listening to these press conferences from the president. Not everybody is watching Charlie Kirk podcasts or everyone who's on Twitter or anything like this. But what people do see are the clips. People do see the clips of these people are being brought to justice. So again, you got to start rounding people up, man. Even if like let's say that some of these people were arrested like a little prematurely or whatever, and they eventually get off on their cases, whatever, like a couple weeks or months or years down the line. I mean, just think about what the Biden administration did with the J6 stuff, man. A lot of those people ended up getting out. Either they took plea deals or President Trump pardoned them, or maybe some of them actually just got to walk or what have you. But it put the fear of God into a lot of right wingers following J6 that, hey, they're coming after people. They're throwing people in jail. The Trump administration should absolutely be doing the same. I mean, well, I suppose the next thing we could talk about is President Trump actually declaring or saying that he's going to declare. I haven't checked to actually see if the executive order has finally gone through or not, but declaring Antifa a terrorist organization. There are a lot of people, all right, actually, I'll just read this first, then we can discuss it further. I am pleased to inform our many USA patriots that I am designating Antifa, a sick, dangerous, radical left disaster, as a major terrorist organization. I will also be strongly recommending that those funding Antifa be thoroughly investigated in accordance with the highest legal standards and practices. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So again, very, very good signaling, but this needs to be done correctly. It needs to be done carefully. You can't just go out and saying that, Trump's truths on Truth Social aren't actually, becoming law, right? A lot of people are criticizing this, saying, well, you actually can't designate Antifa a terrorist organization because it's actually just based in the United States and it's not international whatsoever, which obviously is absolute bullshit. You can look up any basically May Day riot that is going on in Paris every single year, and you can immediately point to the fact that Antifa is a multinational organization. You could designate them terrorists literally tomorrow. You could have done it a week ago. You could have done it a year ago. It's obvious that these people are terrorists and they need to be dealt with.
Yeah, and again, better late than never, right? But yeah, this is something I think, when did he say this? Is back in 2020 is when he said this?
He originally did, but yeah. There's also been signaling they've been doing this over the last 24 hours. So, but this was originally talked about in his first term.
Yeah, and I think this is a win. This is an absolute win, right? Because Antifa, yes, you can. A lot of people can say, "Oh, Antifa is not a real organization. It's not this. It's not that, et cetera, et cetera." And yeah, I mean, the critique that they only really burn down their own cities. I mean, those are at least the most famous ones, and they've got cells throughout the United States, and they almost ambushed and killed a bunch of ICE agents in Texas and that's not a blue state by any means. So these people are an absolute threat. These people are an absolute. I don't know if the shooter himself was actually affiliated with Antifa. I wouldn't be surprised if he was. What is it? But yeah, this is an absolute threat, and these are like the cutting edge of like left-wing violence in the United States, right? But understand that they're just the cutting edge, right? They're just the kinetic element. But there's this whole, when we talked about this earlier, but there's this whole industrial complex of finance, politics, of NGOs, and staffed with lawyers whose whole job is to get these people out on light charges, or if nothing, or to pay their bail, right? So they can keep doing this stuff, right? Until you destroy the sort of the 80% of this network, which is the support for the 20%, which is Antifa. And again, I'm taking this as a win. I'm, late as it was, after the fact as it was, Charlie Kirk is dead as it was, right? This is still a win. It's not anywhere near as fast as we would have liked it, or it even should have been, but this is still a win, right? So, but again, it needs to just be the first step, or the next step in an ongoing campaign to to completely cut these things off, right? And again, I don't know. I agree with you that Trump shares some of the blame for not immediately day one just going after the radical left. He had the mandate. He had a lot of, he shut the borders. He did all this stuff, but he could have gone after the radical left immediately. But at the same time, I'd rather the problem get fixed a little bit later than I would have liked, than it just just crapping the bed trying to do too many things at once.
I mean,
so ultimately,
it's just a fact of the matter in the day that we're in, that it's better to take something late than to not have it at all.
Absolutely.
I mean, when our backs are against the wall like this, we have to roll with what is available to us. It's not perfect, but we cannot let perfect be enemy of good here on this one. This is something that
completely
is working in our direction, and we have to use it.
And understand this too, right? Like understand this from the perspective of the left, particularly of the radical left. This is an apocalypse for them right now, right? Like think about how they are feeling right now. This, not only did he shut off US aid, not only has he freezed up, even the fact that he hasn't gone after the private funding networks, he shut off a good chunk of the government funding, and he's trying to find the rest of understand that the US government is so Byzantine, is so overlapping, is so like hidden under programs and programs and programs and programs, that even if you're in it and in charge of it, it is very difficult to find the source of something quickly, right? So the part of this is investigating and purging things within your own government that are purposefully concealed to keep opposition administrations from doing so. This is the whole point of the deep state, right? Deep states come in and they set up these layers and layers and layers and layers of bureaucracy to hide it behind. Like for example, we talked about the CRS. The CRS is a perfect example of something like this. It's something you wouldn't even think of. It's so innocuous, right? But it's one of the biggest weapons that is utilized, right? So again, this is an apocalypse for the left right now. Their funding is being freezed up. One of their major organizations has been declared, at least he said that they're going to declare it a terrorist organization and hopefully unleash the full force of law enforcement on them. I hope they're panicking. I hope they're panicking. I hope they're making mistakes. They are, right? Yes, it cost Charlie Kirk's blood. That was too high of a cost as far as I'm concerned. But at the very least, you got to get something out of it, right? It's done. None of us wanted it to happen, but it happened, right? And if that's what it took to fix this problem, again, the cost was too high, but the cost having been paid, I'm glad that we're at least getting this out of it. So that's my thoughts on it.
Indeed. I mean, we're mentioning in the chat here, two things that the Trump team can use right now for the advantage of taking down Antifa, but laws that are already on the books. You don't even have to take in and make any new ones, right? You can use the 1807 Insurrection Act. It's obvious that you can declare Antifa, insurrection against the United States. They're inciting violence, which is another comment we actually didn't talk about with all those clips, but I really like the language that Trump was using nonstop of incitement. That is in very, very stark contrast to another person in the administration who's using very shitty leftist language. We'll get to her in a minute here because, man, oh man. Yeah, see, everybody already knows, right? Chuckling away, right? But again, incitement. These people are incitements to violence. They're burning American flags. They're clearly very anti-American. They're inciting people to violence. They're calling for the end of the United States. It's like, what are all those chants they're constantly screaming at all these riots? Like, no USA at all or whatever, So very, very easy to be done.
he could cite that and declare all of these sanctuary cities under insurrection, and then just take them over and kick out their city governments. He'd be completely justified in doing so.
Indeed. You have to use power, and you have to crush these people.
He
Another
could use
one would
this
be
to
then.
revoke DC's home rule.
Indeed. Another one he used in the 1940 Smith Act as well. People can look that up in their own time as well, but very, very important. Just use the laws that are already on the books, man. So we need a big show of strength. That's the thing I want from the Trump administration, and he'd get a much higher grade in my book. Is you've got this great rhetoric. It's been fantastic. I have no objections there on that stuff, but you need to have a great big show of force to back this kind of stuff up so people know you're actually serious, okay? If we have to wait another like 2 months for the DOJ to announce that they're, launching a RICO investigation into various people that were in that Discord server or some leftist NGO or something, the moment's already going to be gone. We need a really, really big show of force, and it needs to happen yesterday. So get it done, Mr. President. I hope everyone is listening. So, all right. Moving on to our grades from other people in the administration. We'll get to the worst one in a minute, but first we must get to the second worst. Okay. So the Looney Tunes man himself, the Muppet Show, apparently, Kash Patel. This was absolutely horrible, this clip. Let's listen in.
Lastly, to my friend Charlie Kirk. Rest now, brother. We have the watch. And I'll see you in Valhalla.
Yeah. Great. Again, it's like every time he speaks, it's the ordeal of civility. Just every time.
Oh, goodness.
These people are just not like us, man. It's like, okay, you're going to get up there in the press conference, which you already fumbled in a catastrophic way in the opening days during this investigation by literally having a schizophrenic Twitter account that everyone was refreshing and watching every 5 minutes. It looked like fucking Looney Tunes amateur hour over there with, we have a suspect in custody. Oh, we've let him go. We have another suspect in custody. We've also let him go. We now have a third suspect in custody. We've also released him after initial questioning. It's like, dude, just shut your fucking mouth, man. What the hell is going on? It's like the same thing with the Epstein shit, dude. I mean, like, just shut up. You could have just let it go, man. But so not only did they have a horrible showing on the actual day of the shooting, they had an even worse showing because the father of the shooter, Tyler Robinson's dad, is actually the one that turned him in. So it wasn't even like, super duper amazing FBI raid shit to go and catch this guy. So he got turned in. Then you got Kash Patel making a statement about Valhalla to one of the most outspoken young Christian men in the entire country, a man who inspired thousands upon thousands of people to return to the church on Sunday, myself included. And the comment you're going to make at the press conference is, I'll see you in Valhalla. It's like, dude, read the fucking room, man.
The governor behind him, I think, is Mormon.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, even worse. just as bad, right? But
no offense intended to one particular individual who might be listening right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, like this is like some vet bro. That's where he got this. He got this from some vet bro marketing. Like if you've been in the service or people in the service, you understand that there's this cultural thing recently. The Till Valhalla project, you'll notice that a lot of service guys will wear on their wrists little metal bands, typically with the name and the rank of an individual, either someone that they served with or someone that they knew who died in combat. And like, that kind of like Marvel movie, Norse pagan and culture is kind of it's come back into the military. And through that, it's come back into wider society and into law enforcement, which is downstream of military culture. Law enforcement culture is, the military culture kind of trickles into that, and they kind of adopt some of it. So like this whole like Till Valhalla stuff, it comes from that. And it really is. It's just Marvel movies, and Vikings are cool, and I can you know.
Yeah, this is something cool that cool people like to say. I mean,
Yeah, exactly. And that's what like an AI scam bot would
yeah,
think
really.
in analyzing this marketing. Or
It honestly sounds like something you'd hear from. I'm sure you see this, my friend, because you've served. But you see clips of these like military bro podcasts where somebody's like, "Yo, bro, listen, I was part of Alpha SEAL Squadron 8469-420, and I had to crawl in behind enemy lines, and I found the Afghanistan Super Alpha dude, and he was called Knife Wielder Man by the locals over there because he wielded 17 knives with his 3 fingers,
Yeah,
and it's just.
You want to, if you want to start a successful podcast in the United States right now, just join the Navy SEALs, man. That's what it exists to do. Like, I could, what is it? Like, I could sit and okay, I'm not a special operator. I've never been a special operator. I'm a friggin' line guy. Okay. If you're some Green Beret who's listening to us, or if you're some Ranger Regiment guy or something like that, like, okay, I get it. You're super cool and you're really awesome and you're cooler than me and you've done cooler stuff than me. Okay. There you go. All that out the way. The type of these guys who come back and like start these podcasts where they sell dietary supplements and other such things, it's exactly like you said, right? It's like, fisherman's tale applies to the military, especially in something like the GWAT. All right. Look, I'm not here to besmirch the people that the soldiers that were killed in the GWAT. That's not what I'm here to besmirch. What I'm here to besmirch is that a bunch of these frigging special operators have decided to turn it into, I don't know, like Vietnam Corregidor, like World War II, super commando. I was the coolest guy on earth who, and I was just,
it's literally like chick lit for dudes.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. It's fake. It's played up. Okay. Yes. Right. If you were on Delta Force, you're probably a really cool dude and you got to meet some really cool people and you got to like actually do what soldiers are supposed to do in any normal given era. All right. Great. But then when you come back here, right, understand the content mill. If you've built your whole brand, and I promise we're going to bring this back to Mr. Patel in a minute here, right? But when you build your content brand off of, oh, I'm this super cool operator who's done all this super cool stuff, and then you have like stories of Navy SEALs leaving a dead para-rescueman on the mountain and abandoning the mission, and then they all get medals of honor for it. Look into this stuff. Like a lot of these operators, are liars, have outright come home and lied about what they did overseas, to make themselves look good or to get medals so that there's a public hero that everyone can adulate, et cetera, right? And that serves a function, right? I'm not saying it doesn't, because people don't want to hear that their soldiers overseas are going around and lying and abandoning missions and stuff like that, right? Sure, okay, public heroes, I can understand it, et cetera, but like ultimately, this is a personal bugbear of mine. But ultimately, it's like, stolen valor. Everyone hated stolen valor in the 2000s, right? But I'm gonna call this inflated valor, right? Or debased value. You know how when you debase a currency, by adding more, back when currencies were gold or silver based, you would debase it by adding more like cheaper metal into it, right? This is debased valor, right? Yeah, you were probably a cool dude who probably did some cool things, but when you come home and make an entire content brand off of it, that all of a sudden it turns into, you have to start exaggerating more and more and more and more, and then making up or telling your buddies stories as yours, or just making up stories outright. That's what it turns into. And yes, I'm being a bit hyperbolic with this. Obviously, there are real legit operator podcasts out there, and yes, and the hashtag not all, you can bring up all your per capita examples all you want, but this is ultimately, like in special forces, if you talk to Thomas will tell you about this. Like the whole concept of special operations forces is a relic of the Cold War strategic paradigm. It's not needed anymore. And in all honesty, Green Berets today are actually kind of like pretty, in the grand scheme. Again, don't want to insult anyone, but if you're in the know, you're in the know. They're like tier 2, tier 3. They're like your first stop or your second stop on the road to something like Delta or somewhere else like that, right? they're more often than not used as just typical infantry. Yeah, they're good at what they do, but it's like it's using the Mona Lisa as a placemat, because Green Berets were designed for an entirely different purpose. And now if you're an 11 Bravo infantryman whose job is you're supposed to patrol and get into firefights and stuff, you're just sweeping around the base and pulling gate guard, you know? And this is the retardation of the state of the modern United States military. And it's just because of all the money that was dumped into special operations forces during GWAT, because they were, because of, you know, insurance companies and liability, and you need to have 15 layers of insurance to, you know, anytime anyone pulls the trigger anywhere. Right? I'm kind of being eclectic here, and we can bring this back to Mr. Patel, but this I just really hate this. And all of this results in this friggin' Hindu, right, you know, quoting the Norse pagan Valhalla to his Christian friend with the Mormon governor behind, and he just it doesn't even occur to him.
It's literally something out like Warner Brothers, dude. Like, you couldn't even like make this any better. Like, yeah, Elmer Fudd is running the FBI. Basically, that's where we're at right now.
Yeah. Again, all of that's to say, I'm just some like low tier reservist line guy. All right. So if you want to come to my house and kill me and use your operator skills, then be my guest. If my judgment as to the state of your community offends you, so please do so.
I was sent on a special operation to Paul Fahrenheit's house, and they called him Paul Fahrenheit because his house was literally 400 degrees, man. That's how hot it was in there. It was like a Superman layer, man. So anyway, the only thing saving Cash Patel here from getting an F, I'm giving him a D-, and the only thing that's giving him a D- is the next clip we're about to watch.
I had to keep myself muted. Oh,
so that's the.
For a second, this was what was in my head when you said, "Oh, we're gonna play this clip." This is what was in my head. I thought, "Oh, they're gonna play." Because I saw this, I didn't see the real clip. I thought, "Oh, they're gonna play the real clip." No.
Yeah, I'm glad Cringe Walker was in the chat to see his meme be used on the show tonight. So yes, thank you, Lutheplar, in the chat for. Yep, there he is. Yep, thank you, my friend. So yes, that is the only thing saving Cash Patel from getting an F on this one. So he got a D-. And the reason I stress that again is because, dude, listen, all right, I get it. Cash Patel actually did a pretty good linguistic trick right here when he was pulled in front of one of these gay Senate commission hearings or committee hearings or whatever the fuck these are, you know, where basically all that happens is the person who's grilling you just talks over you for their allotted time, so you can't even get a word in edgewise. And Cash Patel basically just did the only thing you could do is just try and out alpha that guy and just talk over him and talk over back, because nothing of value is done in any of these anyway. But I wanted to stress that because people say, oh, well, he actually did a good job. It's like, dude, this has nothing to do with the Charlie Kirk assassination, the case. He was being interviewed on totally different things, man. Okay, so this is ridiculous. It has nothing to do with the thing at hand. You can praise him for the scene all you want, but as it relates in the last week of handling the Charlie Kirk assassination, yeah, Cash Patel, you get a D-. And in addition to this, a huge bombshell report that came out this week found that the Biden administration had something like 90 FBI agents actively trying to infiltrate Turning Point USA during the Biden administration. That bombshell report came out this week. It's like, holy fuck, man. Who's running the FBI? Who's in charge of this thing? The whole thing just needs to be fucking destroyed at this point. It's unbelievable. They can't catch criminals for shit. Apparently, Palantir's got their thumbs up their ass because this great, surveillance state that we've been promised can't even catch a fucking guy who was posting in a Discord chat with his Troon lover, you know, for weeks up until the point of the assassination. It's like, my God, it's like the Muppet Show here. Fucking Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem are running the FBI, apparently.
Maybe the myth of the surveillance state is more important than the actual reality of the surveillance state.
Oh man, it's so Anyway, Cash Patel, Dan Bongino, the whole FBI as a whole, yeah, D- for this week. Guys did terrible, but they would get Fs. But boy, oh boy, the person who's coming up next is so far below. If there was like 50 feet of crap between an F and an F minus, Pam Bondi is sitting at the end of that 50 feet of crap and is firmly in the F minus category this week. Man, oh man, are we gonna rib into her on this one? So everyone, get out your popcorn and your snacks.
Like she needs more of it.
Oh my god! Here we go. Everyone, buckle your seatbelts for this one.
There's free speech, and then there's hate speech, and there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie, in our society.
Do you see more law enforcement going after these groups who are using hate speech and putting cuffs on people so we show them that some action is better than no action?
We will absolutely target you, go after you, if you are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything, and that's across the aisle.
Yeah, that was painful.
I mean, number one, why are there two women hosting a podcast like this? I mean, this is Stephen Miller's wife, Katie Miller, who's hosting this one, and having Pam Bondi come on here. I mean, it's just, ladies, the men will take it from here because, my God, okay, we can actually talk about what really is the biggest issue here. Okay, obviously he's using the left-wing language of hate speech, something that the whole collective right has been fighting back against for the last decade, calling basically everything Donald Trump says, everything Elon Musk says, everything all of us say, or anyone on college campuses, Charlie Kirk, for God's sake, everything that these people say is hate speech. This is the language that was, or the line rather, that was used to get people banned, including the president of the United States, banned from all manner of social media platforms, getting banned from banks, being debanked, everything like this. And Pam Bondi just runs face fucking first into this giant pit of spikes, in front of her, and says, "Oh yes, we're going to use the left-wing language and give the left all the language, all the rhetorical tricks in the world to fire back at the Trump administration or Anons in general, who doing some amazing work this week, getting thousands of people fired for grave dancing on Charlie Kirk." So this is just unbelievably unacceptable from Pam Bondi right here. And one of the other points I really want to stress is, it's like, okay, all right, how is it not the absolute bare minimum from being in the president's cabinet, and at this point where we are 10 years on with this shit of fighting the left and dealing with these linguistic traps, okay, how is it not literally the bare minimum for people in the administration to know how to navigate around these linguistic games? I mean, holy fuck, man. All of us do it all the time. People in the chat do it all the time. Anons on the internet are doing it all the time, understanding what is going on with left-wing linguistical traps and how to avoid them. And how does the fucking Attorney General of the United States not know how to deal with this shit? All she had to do was just say incitement to violence. It's a very specific code in the United States. It's already written down in law. You cannot incite people to violence. You can be prosecuted. You can be thrown in jail. President Trump was talking about incitement. Stephen Miller was talking about incitement. JD Vance was talking about incitement. It's the easiest layup in the world. It's already right there for you. And why do you have to fall back to this basic level of programming of, oh, well, we're just going to talk about hate speech? And then not only be ridiculed and yelled at this. It was actually kind of funny that Stephen Miller, like, literally quote tweeted her on Twitter saying that, bitch, shut up, basically, is what he was saying with that, which is kind of funny. But then she goes on and doubles and triples down in subsequent press conference hearings about this hate speech crap. And my God, Pam Bondi needs to get fired from this one.
You're not going to play those, right?
No. We're not.
Okay, please.
No.
Please. Look, man, I don't want to sit here taking shots at Pam Bondi, because honestly, it's like this horse has been beaten to death. I've seen it beaten to death in the group chats. It's like there's nothing I can say, man. It would feel uncouth. It would feel uncouth, man.
The only thing any of us can say is what Charlemagne said in the chat. Most embarrassing would.
Yeah, I mean, Frank, look, I think this is just an honest biblical opinion, but like, women have their place in society and ought to be, helped and supported in that place in society. And I'm not even saying that women should be, like locked in the house, because women work throughout scripture. They work as weavers or they work as something else. And so like, again, like there's, but they're never, well, I mean, you can pick out one example, and I don't know if I would use that as a good example. But pretty much all the time they're never like in official government positions. They're never rulers, they're never advisors, they're never anything like that, And yeah, if for anyone who wants to mention Deborah, okay, you got your one, fine. Look at the other 99%. Okay. So look, this is just kind of a curse on the nation, right? Is when you have like these two women basically talking about official government policy, and it sounds like, it sounds like a conversation. I don't know. I can't liken this to a dinner conversation.
No,
It just sounds like two women talking.
Yeah,
That's what it sounds like.
This is just unacceptable from the Attorney General of the United States. Somebody that all of us here at the OGC and anybody who had a brain could have seen that this was just not the pick. Okay. Again, Courage Walker had a fantastic meme about this yesterday. People could go check this out on his Twitter. It was really, really good. Basically just listing off the, literal cobwebs growing on Pam Bondi's desk of dealing with NGOs, dealing with the Epstein stuff, whatever you may, take your pick here. This woman has done literally nothing since coming into office except, basically jump on a rake with both feet and watch it slam right into her face. Well, this woman needs to be fired. We could have had Matt Gaetz. All right. Mr. Fahrenheidt, you were talking about Trump appointing some 40-something people to his administration with the last day. I mean, Pam Bondi needs to get fired yesterday, and we need somebody in here who's actually competent and who's willing to do what is going to be one of the most confrontational positions in the entire government is the Attorney General, and needs to be a man, and it needs to be a man who knows what time it is. And Matt Gaetz would have been perfect for this role. And it's so frustrating to see that, this is who we got instead.
That's his fault, man. He's the one who like selected himself out. Trump would have backed him to the hilt. He was talking about recess appointments. He was like, he was ready to go. And again, like, and this was just the B squad, maybe it would have been too powerful, or maybe Gaetz just wasn't made of the right stuff. I don't know. But yeah, again, like he certainly looked the part, but he selected himself out. And I really wish he didn't. I really wish he truly was someone of substance because, again, like, I don't want to say Pam Bondi, Trump has treated her like the retard kid that he has to kind of take care of. But even before that's kind of how he's treated. He's like, you are doing a great job.
I mean, it is kind of what he did. Like, people were talking about the other reason to go after Trump over the last couple of days was he kind of had to pull cover for Pam Bondi because, like, when you have people like this, it's a bad reflection on the president as well. And you're kind of in that position where you just literally have to back whoever you put into these positions. And, so again,
yeah,
Pam Bondi's word isn't going to become law, right? And so President Trump has to just back her what he says. The actual people who are going to be writing this stuff are going to be the people who do this. But this kind of rhetoric is extremely important. And she's just not up to the task, man. She never has been. I haven't seen a single good thing come out of this woman's desk in the entire, first year of the administration almost at this point. This woman's got to go. Just give me anybody else at this point, please.
Yeah, I don't know. Spader tells me she was like a halfway decent AG of Florida. So but like, again, like this, having women, especially in positions of law and federal prosecution is just, it's a curse. Nothing good happens because of it.
Well, the only thing that I could say is nice about this is that she is rightfully getting ridiculed by literally everybody. Tucker Carlson, Scott Adams, all of us, Megyn Kelly, Cenk Uygur. It's people on the left, it's people on the right. Everyone is just ripping her apart for this because it's just how terrible this is. It was a huge blunder. And again, I just have to go back to that thing I was stressing earlier. It's like the literal bare minimum should be, you should understand these left-wing games. You should understand how they use language to manipulate people, and you should understand how to not fall into these frames. This is literally bare minimum at this point, and it should be for all Republicans going forward, not just people in the Trump administration, but people at your local level as well. Your congressmen, your senators, your people in your state houses, and your governors. Everyone should just understand how this game is played at this point. as an absolute bare minimum. So Pam Bondi, F minus. You get to wear the dunce hat for this week for the Trump team for your grades. So Vance gets his A plus, Stephen Miller gets his A, Trump gets his B, the FBI and Kash Patel get a D minus, Pam Bondi gets an F minus. This is just absolutely horrible, man, all the way. So, okay, moving on with our grades. Let's move on to a couple of commentators in our scene. Okay, let's first go over to somebody that let's just say has been making some interesting statements over the last couple of years for sure. People are talking about, oh, well, what is going to be the replacement for Turning Point USA and for Charlie Kirk now that unfortunately he is gone? Well, one of the people who's been suggesting someone could step into that role is Matt Walsh. I don't think he personally has the same debate skills and on the fly reaction time that Charlie Kirk does, but let's just see what Matt Walsh has to say.
That if I walk out of this building and I get killed, that every conservative, even the ones that I've feuded with, that they will not be happy about that. They will mourn that. They will mourn that, and the same if it happened to any of us. They'll mourn it. Even the people, the conservatives, didn't like us. But I also know that on the left, they won't share in that mourning for the most part. And so kind of the friend-enemy distinction is easy for me to see. Mm-hmm. The people who will mourn your death are your friends. The people who will dance on your grave and laugh in the face of your grieving wife are your enemies in this battle, and so that's where the unity needs to come.
Yeah, the wretched demons, honestly.
God, you could just see the steam erupting from Ben Shapiro's kippa as Matt Walsh said friend-enemy distinction, But, I will say this. Matt Walsh, he gets an A+ over this last week, not just for clips like this, but he's been going off on Twitter nonstop, really, really feuding with a lot of your normie conservatives who are stressing that, oh, we need to come together, we need to preach unity, we need to don't look back in anger, we can't be canceling people from their jobs and anything like this. So Matt Walsh gets an A+ for this week. He's done an excellent job, I would say.
I concur. But I'm going to kind of embarrass myself here. I have no clue who Matt Walsh is.
Oh yeah, he's just one of these Daily Wire types. I forget you're not on Twitter. So
yeah, and that's why I don't know who he is. He's not really worth knowing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
I liked what he said.
Matt Walsh talking about Carl Schmitt. That's it's a very nice development, I would say, at the very least. All right. Now. Just a couple other lists very quickly of people who get A+ this week for other right-wing anons and such. Our own Orrin McIntyre absolutely gets an A+ this week, not only for his rhetoric, but also succeeding in the campaign to get Jimmy Kimmel fired. So Orrin McIntyre, top marks for you, my friend. Very, very good work, of course, as the thumbnail suggests today. So Orrin was going off not only on his show yesterday, but on Twitter nonstop, ensuring that Jimmy Kimmel was going to be held to account for his blatant lying on his show, trying to call Tyler Robinson a right-winger, and a Trump supporter that shot Charlie Kirk, which is just an absolute bull-faced lie. Unbelievable. So top marks for Orrin McIntyre. Excellent job, my friend. Another person who absolutely gets an A++, as far as I'm concerned, is Sam Hyde. He had an excellent video over the weekend. If people haven't had the opportunity to watch it, you must. It's about an hour long, and he just nonstop is hitting every single rhetorical point perfectly. All right, so Sam Hyde, another guy who gets a total A+ in my book. Other good scores to go around are the various accounts that are leading the charge to get all manner of lefties fired. People like Aesthetica, who's been very, very active in sharing all of the screenshots and all the names and the numbers of people's businesses and such like this. So top marks for Aesthetica for getting thousands of people fired at this point. So the final grade that I want to give to people here, and this is something we can discuss, is the broader Anon sphere as a whole in the last week, I would say, for people in our thing. And I'm going to give them a solid C. And the reason I'm giving them a solid C is people have done amazing work for finding these left-wingers who are dancing on Charlie Kirk's grave, whether it's people who are teachers, administrators, some people were even in the Secret Service. There were people who were firefighters, people who were police officers in the military. There were people who were doctors and nurses and all levels of our society, which I think has actually been the more radicalizing force for a lot of people in the country than the actual shooting itself. Okay, the shooting and the murder is one thing, but actually seeing people that you interact with all the time, people that teach your kids, people that perform surgeries on you, people who are supposed to defend the president of the United States or defend the country, or people who are supposed to put out fires. All of these people who are just so gleeful at the murder of a young father with 2 children and a beautiful wife. That I think has been the much more radicalizing element here than the actual shooting itself. So for anyone in the chat, anyone who's listening to this, anyone who got a scalp in this last week, top marks for you, man. That is amazing work. Everyone should continue to do it. It is incumbent on everyone in this chat and everyone who's listening. You got to at least get one, man. Every single one of you. You all have the ability to do it. Call up somebody. The numbers are floating around Twitter all over the place. The emails are out there. Everybody gets at least one scalp. You have to. All right. This is just a requirement for being here at this point. So top marks for anyone who is going after the enemy in this way. So good for you. But the reason why I'm giving people a C as well is there's been a lot of spurgery going around on this one as well. Okay. People just cannot help themselves from turning everything, and I mean every issue in this country, into the stupid sand country in the Middle East the size of New Jersey. And I'm fucking sick of seeing it with people, man. One account literally just threw me over the edge yesterday when they were talking about, well, the shape of the field that Charlie Kirk was speaking of was shaped like a menorah. They're just blatantly telling us now. It's like, guys, your minds have literally been taken over by Jews more so than the most staunch Zionists. And I'm sick of seeing it, man. All right. We have an extreme opportunity right now that we cannot pass up to do some serious damage to the left that is entrenched in this country. Not every single issue is around the you-know-who, even though they are a huge problem that we have to deal with, okay? Everyone here knows that, all right? You are not going to be able, just from a tactical perspective, to wake up huge portions of the population who literally just figured out that the old meme of the left wants you dead and thinks it's funny. They have just figured that out for the first time, and now you're going to send them hurling down the path of, like, naming Jays or something like this. Like, you're just out of your mind, dude, all right? And so I really hate this shit where people are trying to derail the actual good work that is being done by people to make this about, like, their pet issue. It's not productive. There's no evidence for this to the contrary. And, like, this is just discussions that need to be had internally amongst our people, man. Like, as Thomas says all the time, we're not Jehovah's Witnesses, man. Like, I don't understand why people need to spurg out about this to the point where everybody looks at you like you have 3 heads if you go off on this topic.
Yeah, this is why it's important not to fall into the trap of the retard right. And actually, at a certain extent, you cease being a rightist in anything but, like, the issues you care about, and your conceptual horizon becomes left wing. You become it's this Gnostic conception of the world where you live in, like, this prison where, insert your group here, whether it's, particular group, or the elites, or some other shady, other that has control over the whole world, right? Like, this is just Gnosticism, man. And it's like, oh, you can never win, you can only escape. And ultimately, like, it's the conception of a loser and a natural slave, right? Because these people, as a sort of, and they may not even realize that this is what they think, and they probably don't, otherwise they might change it. Is just the fact that, like, the fact that they're always losing is like a metaphysical requirement. Winning, you don't win unless you have, I don't know, sellout is a recent cultural term to describe this concept. You don't win unless you have become a part of the conspiracy, right? You don't win unless you have become a part of, some shady organization trying to screw you over, or you're getting funded or backed or supported or whatever. And this is just how retards think. You can't fall down the trap of the retard right, and they will be judged for leading these, a lot of these conservatives who have, been awakened recently, as you said. They've come into this, and now what is it? Now they're screaming about the Jews or something like that, and it's stupid. it's counterproductive. It doesn't really advance anything. It's not substantive. Understand, like losing, losing, being the absolute uttermost retard, losing is a requirement for this worldview, for this position. And yes, I completely agree. I'd give them a C. I'd give them a C because, frankly, just the Anon sphere, it's not organized. There is no movement, as Pete once said. There is no movement. It's just a bunch of like-minded people in like similar networks. And there's no messaging discipline, not really anymore. And so whenever things like this happen, which we could have probably taken advantage of a lot better in the past, the narrative is just going to go off the frigging rails, and people are just going to start, Rorschaching their particular enemy that they hate onto whatever situation is currently occurring. And frankly, that's a good way to ensure that you become politically irrelevant. So the only way out of this, the only way to go forward is organization. And that's why you need to get involved and join the Old Glory Club. Because frankly, if you don't, I mean, I'm not saying that you're going to be politically useless, because, that's certainly not the case. But ultimately, if you're staying on the Anon scene and you think that just being a poster is going to be sufficient even a year from now, you're delusional. That era is over. I'm not saying Twitter is done. I'm not even saying political Twitter is done, but ultimately it's changing, and you got to change with it if you want to stay relevant. But if you want to remain this kind of Gnostic natural slave who always loses, and like losing is a part of staying genuine. If you ever win, if you ever stop losing, you have now become fake. You have now become the enemy or whatever. This is just how a natural slave thinks, and we just don't have time for you. And you can just go sit and play your Steam video games and go down a path that, very much similar to the path this shooter went down. So I know that was a long rant, but
it's totally right, man. I mean, the thing that really upsets me about this is that there are legitimate concerns to be had for this. One of the chief ones that I've been talking about literally since the day of the assassination, when we had that emergency stream on this podcast, on this channel, and then the spaces with Mr. D afterwards. And I've been talking about this every day, has been there is a legitimate concern that in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination, the structure of Turning Point USA is going to be ripe for subversion. That is absolutely 100% true. Okay, I don't know what the leadership makeup is like. We saw that Eric Kirk today was made the acting CEO of this as per Charlie Kirk's wishes. That's a good sign. But let me tell you, man, there are going to be people at lower levels, even at some of these chapters around the country or specific ones in the colleges, who are going to start subverting these things. That is obvious. Okay, there's a lot of power in Turning Point USA. A lot of people are going to start circling around like vultures and jackals, trying to pull off some scraps for themselves. That absolutely is true. But trying to shift that very legitimate and very important concern into, oh, Benjamin Netanyahu assassinated Charlie Kirk. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? This is literally just fairy tale land, man. I had people who called me in the 48 hours after Charlie Kirk's death. I wrote about this in my article for the OGC. These are people who aren't really politically radical. They don't really talk about politics too often. I talked to them maybe half a dozen times a year at most, and these people came and they called me and were asking for answers and were trying to figure out the situation. And I guarantee you they were calling me because I'm not one of these spurgs who, just sits in the house all the time doing nothing but posting and ranting about the Jays every time I have the opportunity to talk to people like this. It's like, guys, really just having a little bit of discretion and hiding your power level, man, is just so fucking important. And it's really nice that the let's just say that the artificial barriers that were holding us down on places like Twitter have been removed since Elon took over. That is very nice. But it's really, really important for people to show some level of restraint and some level of, being tactical in these kinds of things. So that's really all I wanted to say on this one. And for that reason, I'm giving the Anon sphere a C.
Yeah, and look, I know we got a couple other stories to get to before we go, but I got another shell in the barrel here. So I just want to unload on this a little more. Like, way to be a good steward, right, of what we're doing here for all y'all who decided to, and I don't know if any of them are listening, and they probably aren't, because hopefully only good people listen to this show, and the bad people make themselves known very quickly and they are subsequently removed. But honestly, like, way to friggin' do a good job, because when all of these, this happened across the country, right? This happened across the country. I heard so many stories of so many friends of mine, even happened to me, right? So many friends of mine of, conservatives reaching out to them, their conservative relatives. What does this mean? Why did this happen? And they knew that because they knew you were the kook. But you were the kook who was saying that like stuff like this was going to happen, and they ignored you. But they certainly remembered it. And then when it happened, who was the first person they thought to go to? You, right? And so all across the country, our guys, they had a chance to permanently push their family members in the right direction, because this is a significant event that sticks out in people's minds, particularly because of how visceral it was. And for all of you who decided to turn your family or parents onto J posting, or like, beyond like ironic joking with those who might have gotten it or something, right? Like if that's what you decided to do, great job. You completely squandered your chance. No one's ever going to take you seriously, even if something like this happened again. And I hope to God that the damage that you all did was outweighed by the level-headedness, the calmness, the proper understanding that people like RedHawk displayed, right? That people like others in the OGC displayed when their family members reached out to them, right? Just total open honesty, describing the situation. I hope to God that you have not humiliated, the quote unquote far right, the quote unquote hard right, whatever you want to call us, right? People who care about the truth, people who care about, the actual issues, and want to see substantial change, because we see a civilizational existential threat, right? And we're doing our little part. I hope to God that you have not ruined the years and the years and the years of work through your foolishness. I hope it is outweighed by the wisdom that was displayed by brothers of the Old Glory Club and friends of ours and wise Anons across the internet. I really hope that's the case.
All right. Excellent. So those are our grades. It was a very long expose, hour plus. But let's get to some of these super chats, and then we will discuss some other stories for the week. All right. Scrolling back up. All right. We've got at the top here, our good friend Melon for $5. He says, reminder, most companies have a risk management department whose sole purpose is to limit liability. They're usually run by an old white guy. You can ask for them when calling customer service. There you go. That sounds like somebody who's been taking some scalps. Well done, Melon. Very good. God, he really is one of our best guys, Melon. Really is. More people should be paying attention to him for sure. All right, moving on to Solid Snake 1964. He was not the first one to get in behind enemy lines in his cardboard box and get the super chat in tonight. So unfortunately, Melon beat you to it. You're slipping there, Solid Snake. All right. But anyway, he says for $5, evening gents. I can't say it isn't cathartic to see Jimmy Kimmel get canned. I only wish I could have seen his face when he was told. Boy, wouldn't that been nice. Good to see it happen to the left for once, albeit a little scummy. They started it, as we all know. Salute. Yeah, I mean, this has been like the retort that you've had from a bunch of these clowns over the last week or so. I had to laugh how some of them immediately like did a complete turn as soon as they saw which way the wind was blowing, like that Scott Pressler guy, that dick sucker, who's like, guys, we can't be doing this kind of stuff to the left. And then literally 24 hours later, he's one of the guys who's posting, pictures and posting names and email addresses, phone numbers of people and stuff like this, because, he saw which way the wind was blowing on this one. I mean, again, I get it. It's not, I wouldn't really call this masculine behavior, like tattletaling kind of stuff. Like, I get that. I understand why people don't necessarily like it, but understand this, guys. Like, if we don't do this, the stuff that comes next is way, way worse. Okay. I don't want to live in a country with, doctors and physicians and teachers and Secret Service agents and firefighters who are just openly supporting the death of a young father in front of his two children. This is just not good for our society to be, supporting this kind of behavior in our people. It's just not. And these people should be shamed for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Xcomer for $100. Damn. All right. Thank you very much, my friend. We greatly appreciate that one. Thank you. Thank you. I'm enjoying watching people be fired for mocking the murder of a good man. They have and would do the same to us. Enemies must be crushed. Absolutely, Xcomer. He's 100% correct with this one. Yeah, again, like, what did people think? Did people just think it was a meme that, Sam Hyde's quote, "These people want you dead," and they think it's funny? Did you think it was a meme? No, it's 100% true. And they will continue to do so until they are stopped. Everyone better act accordingly.
And this is the thing, right? This is something I found myself saying a lot recently is what the moment is basically having us say, like, how much of our own rhetoric do we believe? How much of it is actually rhetoric and how much of it is actual discernible truth, right? Because this is the point it's getting to. Like, is the left are the left a paper tiger? Do the left want you killed and raped? Are the left a threat? Are the left, nobody? Like, this is the thing, you need to start asking yourself all these rhetorical lines. Do you believe them or not? Are they true or not? Right? Because if they're not true and you're saying them, then, like, why are you saying them? Are you just doing it to make a political point? This is the thing, it's like, look, these people must be crushed, because if not, do you think they're going to show any mercy to you if and or when, let's say, a hypothetical situation, Newsom gets in 28 and then he weaponizes the DOJ and the FBI, and because the deep state in those agencies like him, then they're going to totally react and carry out his orders even beyond? You think that our networks aren't mapped? You think that we aren't known? Right? Yeah, maybe they won't come after the Anons first, but they've got plenty of time, and they're certainly more efficient, and they're certainly not working against government infrastructure to do it, right? Like, this is what you have to understand, is it's like, how much do you believe your own rhetoric, right? Because if you do believe your own rhetoric, you're going to do what you can to, you're going to do what you can to take as much power out of the left as you can. And since you can't attack their NGOs, their institutional funding, since you can't make big attacks, it's good to make little ones, right? Getting a leftist fired, yeah, it doesn't make me feel great inside seeing all that, but ultimately it's a necessity, right? It's a necessity. And this is not, in a sense, in an eye for an eye sense. We're not just doing it to them just because they did it to us. We're doing it to them because if we don't do it to them, then they're going to be the foot soldiers that literally, like, cheer with joy when we're all killed, executed, et cetera, et cetera. So ultimately, we need to do what we can with that. So keep that in mind.
To put it simply, doing this is bad, but not doing it will be infinitely worse. Act accordingly. Memphissippi for $10. Some good things are happening, but at the same time, I don't think the admin has either the proper recognition or the competence to fully grasp what this moment means and what is at stake here. My trusting capacity stands upon the edge of a knife. War is upon us, whether Trump would risk it or not. Yep. I mean, definitely some good points in there. I hope the Trump administration is acting accordingly. Well, again, what I want to see from Trump and the whole team over this next week, and we'll return to this next week, is a big show of force. They need to, man. They need people to know that they're serious. You can work on your RICO cases and everything in the background, but you really need to put some people into some black suburbs, dude.
Just make a public example, just a single public example or a couple public examples. It would go a long way, right? A long way. Just film it, dramatize it, make it go everywhere, make people make memes about it, all this other stuff. A single public example go a long way.
Indeed. Jackson Walker sends us $7 and a salute. Thank you very much, sir. Underscore for $5. The most frustrating thing Pam did is bring up Jews immediately. Yeah, she did that too. I know our admin worships them, but do you have to remind me every few minutes? Yeah, she also ran into a long rant about anti-Semitism right there. Again, it's like, we talked about this so many times on the show. It's like, why Charlie Kirk was a Christian. Why are we talking about anti-Semitism? It's so frustrating, man.
Yeah.
And again, Sam Hyde had a section of his video addressing this exact point, and he hit it out of the park with that one. So,
well, the good news with this is that, like, the energy I'm feeling just from, like, your gen pop, like, they really hate that this was made about the Jews.
Oh man, dude, people are fired up, man. They really, really are. And if we were to give a grade to other people, if we were just to give a grade to House and Senate Republicans, including Speaker Johnson, they all get Fs. Every one of them does too, because none of them understand where the actual base is on this one. Like the base, more or less, has been radicalized beyond belief over the last week, and they're literally just playing tiddlywinks right now. It's crazy, man. So all Senate and House Republicans, every one of you gets an F, all of you, except for one. Eric Schmidt, that's it. I probably give him an A because he gave a speech much in the same way of what Stephen Miller and JD Vance are. So at least one person understands what time it is. Cringe Walker or Luthemplar sends $5. Valhalla, can he curse Vishnu? Yeah. I love how that's become one of your memes. I tell you guys, Cringe Walker really has a gift for this thing, man, for making memes. Like the meme of curse Vishnu right now on Twitter all comes from him, man. So well done, sir. Seasider for $10 sends us a salute as he does every week. Thank you very much, sir. Chancey sends us $5. Thank you for keeping the fire burning. Hell yeah, we're not going anywhere. Maple Copperhead sends us $10. Salute, gentlemen. Well, salute back to you, sir. Joshua BB for $2. I wish Delta Coast Guard. I was Delta Coast Guard in Antarctica. Trust me, bro. Yeah, really.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah. My buddy Nuclear Caldillo for $5 says veterans have identity issues when they leave the service. First thing my dad told me when I left the service was to leave that shit in the past. Hey, I believe it, man. And he ought to know. He was a nuke in the Navy.
Yeah, and that's the thing is I think this is also sort of a problem with 21st century society, is just because of how hollow and shallow just about every single thing is. And it's partially, I think, due to the fact that people are so, I'm going to sound like a friggin' tradcath for a second, but I think it's because people are so uprooted from any semblance of community, for any semblance of identity found in other people, in a place, in a shared part of a story. And I think one of the reasons why so many veterans have identity issues is because that the Army is kind of one of those exceptions to that, is that the Army insulates you within a culture. And it's a high trust, at least a higher trust than average society culture, where there's a lot higher of a shared baseline. Even just some random other guy in a uniform, you don't feel like weird or worry talking to him. Whereas in civilian society, you're always afraid that if you go talk to anyone who's a stranger, they're going to pull out a knife and stab you, or they're going to sue you. Or recently the whole Me Too thing in the wake of that, that's kind of how people look at society. And that's partially due to the fact that people don't really see society as something that they can really find community with anymore. And so that's why I think a lot of veterans have identity issues, is because just quite simply it's a community, and they felt that for the first time, and they don't have the intellectual understanding to realize that that's just community that they found, and they just never let it die, and it kind of arrests the rest of their development, if that makes sense.
I believe it. Speaking of veterans, here's another one. My friend Allie from Real Femme Sapien is in the chat tonight. Thank you, Allie. She says for $20, Patriots are in control. Go off, American flag. Yes. If you are a woman in the chat, or if you have a wife or a girlfriend, send them over to Allie's channel. She's been making content. Again, she's been working herself to get a couple of scalps out there. A right-wing mama. So people should definitely be looking for her and watching her stuff. So good friend of the show. Thank you, Allie. SkiBum220 sends us $50. Thank you very much, sir. He says, we are going to win. Thanks for the good work, gentlemen. Salute. Well, thank you, SkiBum220. You're definitely one of our more prolific super chatters in the audience. So we thank you very much, sir. Really appreciate it. Count Artha, I wanted to say Arthas, for $5. The time to feel guilty about using the enemy's ring of power is after you've got it off of his finger. Yeah, it's a very, very good point indeed. So
I could go on a rant about the ring of power metaphor and how it's really just a massive. It's like, I get the thing of it is, but it's like, the ring of power is basically used to justify, oh, you can never use power ever. And that's just a lack of nerve and just frankly being a pussy.
Gandalf used power, King Theoden used power, Aragorn used power, all kinds of people use power.
Let's not be retarded here.
Yeah, exactly.
Even like significant great like power of a supernatural nature was used against this ring of power. But then the ring of power, again, the retard right takes it and shifts it to turn it into like, oh, any use of power, whatever is
this is like libertarian. This is like libertarian arguments, man. It's like you can literally do nothing, so we just have to roll over and let them kill us.
It's like I said earlier, it is this Gnostic theology that they don't even realize that's what it is. It's like, if you are winning, you are morally evil. As long as you are losing, you're morally good. But if you are winning, you've sold out. You've made exceptions. You've given up enlightenment, et cetera, whatever else, right? However else they frame it, they don't frame it that way. But this is how I have to describe how they think. Anytime you start winning, it's over. You're done. You're morally evil, functionally, right? So this needs to be excised. This needs to be flushed out of as many people's minds as possible, because it is a permanent loser mindset, and it will only result in permanent loss.
Absolutely. All right. And then we have a well-armed corgi for $10 who sends us an emoji of a hand. It kind of blends in. The yellow blends in with the hand that he made there. I don't know. Is that the Star Trek Live Long and Prosper? I can't really see it. So, all right. Well, we thank you, well-armed corgi, for your $10. Thank you. And Melon, once again, for $5 says, a good lesson from the ring is the destroyed where it was created part. That's a good understanding of mind control. Boomers don't believe anything not on TV. Where were they created? Well, very good point, Melon. Again, Melon's a pretty sharp guy. All right, people should definitely give him a follow for sure.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, definitely a good friend of the OGC for sure. All right, so Mr. Fahrenheight, let's tackle these last three stories very, very quickly for the evening, and then we'll be out of here. So, speaking of getting left-wingers fired, okay, and people who are posting in some of the worst ways imaginable, okay, some of the people who are most guilty of this are the Krasenstein brothers, not to be confused with the Kraft brothers from the old Zaboomafoo show. People remember that one, but the Krasensteins, who, to give you perspective of how bad these guys are, these guys were the only leftists who were banned on Jack Dorsey's Twitter. That's how fucking bad these people are. When right-wingers are being shut down left and right, the Krasensteins were shut down by Jack Dorsey. That's how terrible these guys were. We're having alt accounts, manipulating algorithms, doing all sorts of scummy shit. Has nothing to do with their last name, I'm sure. But so unfortunately, when Elon took over Twitter, these people slithered out of the cracks in the earth from whence they came. So here we have the Krasenstein brothers doing this thing that leftoids like to do all the time, where Antifa isn't an organization. Antifa is just an idea. To completely ignore the uniforms everybody wears, the websites that they have, the organization, the funding, all the shirts, everything. Just completely ignore that stuff. It's just an idea. You can't prosecute an idea, yada, yada, yada. And to my response is, like, obviously this is completely retarded. This is another linguistic trap that they like to use. I mean, try using this on, like, golden age era of piracy or whatever. Piracy is just an idea. Nobody actually engages in piracy. You can't do anything to these people. This is just ridiculous. There's no central command control, pirate league core of leaders that control all the pirates. How could you possibly target these people? So Oren McIntyre makes the great point right here. Brian Krasenstein has openly declared himself aligned with a left-wing terrorist group who murdered Charlie Kirk and are threatening his widow. So here's a great point where you could start, Mr. Trump. We're talking about having a great show of force. Well, how about you round up a couple of these people and fucking arrest them for openly declaring themselves to be part of an international terrorist organization? Wouldn't that be nice?
Dude, look, just what else is there to say about this? Like just arrest them, man. That's it. That you can't reason with them. Don't talk to them. Just arrest them. Just put them away.
Indeed. So these people need to have the fear of justice put into them for sure, man. They just cannot continue to carry on this way. These people, the effect that the left wingers have had in inciting all of this violence against right wingers, including Charlie Kirk, including the president of the United States, for years now. And are they just going to be allowed to continue to do so? No, this is absurd. These people need to be targeted. These people need to be thrown in jail. You know, we could list any number of left-wing influencers, Hassan chief among them, you know, the Krasenstein guys, all of these people. Every one of them should be locked up. All of them. So, very, 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 very unacceptable here. It appears that we're actually having some breaking news reports here from Charlemagne in the chat. We'll get that up here in a minute. I'm actually curious to what this is. I'll look at this very, very quickly here.
Yeah, I've been looking at it. We gotta put it up. They were listening to the stream. They were listening to us as per usual, right? So the arrests have finally started. This is the optics that we were waiting for. Play the clip.
All right, but we'll just watch here. Yeah, disregard. So apparently, just in, federal police officers arrested Chandler Patty outside the Portland ICE facility last night. Oh, interesting. Patty has been using his apartment unit near the ICE facility as an Antifa safe house, providing agitators with restrooms and amenities so they can continue the occupation. Well, good start. Antifa has had their, I don't want to call it headquarters, right? But it's definitely been one of the ground zeros for these lunatics. Has been in Portland, Oregon for years and years and years now. So, okay. It appears that we have our first confirmation of an Antifa activist or supporter being arrested by Trump's team. Now, they were listening in right now, as you said, Mr. Fahrenheit.
Great. I love this. This is exactly I want to see militarized looking police with leftoids. That's what I want to see.
Do more. The other thing that would be really nice about this, if they do this in California, where they just passed that law last week where all law enforcement individuals aren't allowed to cover their faces, just have all the ICE guys or the DHS guys or whoever it is who are arresting these people have them masked. Try it, Gavin Newsom. Just try and say you can't have law enforcement figures masked up. Which, by the way, Antifa has been engaging in doxing ICE agents since the very start of the administration. So, fuck these people.
Trump, this is how you keep Newsom from winning in 28. You just humiliate him. You just utterly humiliate him. You make him look impotent and weak. You make him, like, every time California does something, you just utterly humiliate him by having federal law enforcement officers just completely not be beholden by quote. And it's funny, If California wins, I guarantee that states' rights is going to start becoming a left-wing political issue and not a right-wing one. as long as you have a Trump federal government, the left starts screaming about states' rights.
That would be funny, wouldn't it? Well, yeah, I mean, that really is the line you have to play, basically, is because the left-wing base are crazy ass up the wall radicals, as we all know. I mean, people have been circulating these polls throughout the entire week of, leftists age, 18 to 25. 1/3 of them think it's okay to use violence against political opponents. There's other ones that show it's close to 40%. There's other ones that show it's around 50% if you include people who think sometimes it's okay with it's okay. So these people are just completely off of their rockers, and you're totally right on the Gavin Newsom front. If the actual left-wing base wants to move like way more radical, they're not going to support somebody like Gavin Newsom, who is just continuing to get cucked by President Trump if he starts doing stuff like this in California, where let's show up to every single Gavin Newsom press conference and have an ICE vehicle in the background arresting people. I mean, that's
you just do it. You just make it impossible for him to have press conferences because no one can see him without you. Just like, this is it. You humiliate them. That's how you do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I'll say this too. I mean, one of the interesting things about arresting this guy is they just arrested him for opening his apartment to people to take a leak and have a couple like Cheetos snacks or whatever it is that they're having there, man. I mean, that's a hell of a start, dude. They're not even mentioning like he had like any weapons or shields or signs or anything stashed there. They're just saying he let people use his apartment to take a leak.
Great.
Which I love. If you're going to do the same thing to grandmas on January 6th, you can absolutely do it to these people. Yeah, you're a collaborator. Boom, get them. I love it. I love to see it. Do more of it.
Romans
right.
13, the state is supposed to be a terror to evildoers.
Hell yeah. Alrighty. Moving on, we could do this story about Dearborn, Michigan, because you were actually talking about this before, Mr. Fahrenheit, before we went live here about President Trump, and Stephen Miller actually was on Fox News today. I just saw this before we went live, talking about Ilhan Omar and the issue with Somalians in Minnesota right now. There's been, let's just say, some added emphasis on those people today. They were kind of like the main character on Twitter today, the Somalians. So, but let's listen to this exchange. This happened in Dearborn, Michigan this week. Let's listen in.
Hezbollah, bombed the embassy in Beirut, and including many Americans. So I just feel it's quite inappropriate.
You are an Islamophobe, and although you live here, I want you to know, as mayor, you are not welcome here. And the day you move out of the city will be the day that I launch a parade celebrating the fact that you moved out of the city, because you are not somebody who believes in coexistence.
Yeah, so here we go.
Yeah, so here we go. We've got a local white guy who is in the ancestral home of his people, Dearborn, Michigan, home to the great Henry Ford, inventor of the modern automobile and everything like this, is now being lectured by, Abdul Mahmoud. Yeah, very American name, who's the mayor of the city of Dearborn right now. We discussed this on the show a couple weeks ago about how the city of Dearborn police have now been the first one in the nation to have Arabic written on some of their police shields. So, again, this puts in context the stuff about people were talking about Ilhan Omar and other Somalians today. Of just how much this is a joke. That, okay, there's not a single American named Abdul Mahmoud. There's not. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care what any piece of paper says. There's no American named Ilhan Omar. There's none. There's no American that's named Vivek Ramaswamy. Period. These people are not Americans. They are not like us. And it's to this clownish point where you have a local white guy who is literally engaging in his civic duty, as is his right, to go to one of these city mayor town hall, like airing of grievances nonsense, that people are allowed to do in our democratic system, and stays there until 11 o'clock at night. Look at the clock in the bottom right hand there. He's been waiting all day to get in his moment of peace. And the mayor is lecturing the white guy on, you don't belong here in the city. It's like, literally, fuck you, dude. You're a fucking visitor in my country, and you should be denaturalized and removed.
Well, that's the thing. You import the third world, you get the third world, you import various people of demographic groups. Don't be surprised that they act in demographic block against you, and they occasionally will flex their muscles and try to humiliate people in this respect. So, hopefully the tanking TFR rates of foreigners when they come here makes this problem self-correcting, right? And hopefully Trump's shutting of the borders and drastic reducing of immigration flows makes this problem. Hopefully that lasts longer than 5 minutes, right? Because again, but yeah, this is your future, by the way. If this continues, is 1,000 of this guy, just functionally. Basically, it's like your town is my town now, and there's nothing you can do about it. And this is just what happens. So I hate it.
The other thing too, just ignoring the blatant, racial group differences that are going on here in this clip. When is it acceptable to talk to one of your constituents like this? It's like, dude, you work for this guy, motherfucker. This is a guy who's coming to one of these town halls, going out of his way to engage in his civic duty, which most people in your district aren't going to do. And then you just talk to him this way. It's like, you're an Islamophobe, and I'm going to throw a parade in your honor when you leave this community, dude. It's like, motherfucker, who do you think you are?
Part of this is just the fact he's an Arab, and he's just doing that.
Oh yeah, Arab that's obviously a part of
Arabs
it,
do.
But...
Arabs are very, very dramatic people, and they get very personal very quickly. Very nasty very quickly. It's especially if you set them the wrong way. So yeah, and that just isn't really, again, particularly a state like Michigan, right? Doesn't really mesh well with like Northern European social norms, where you never really get personal, even if you're really mad with someone. It's kind of a faux pas You're very business oriented. You're stating a case on its own merits, and it's just it's hard. You can't deal with that. Not really. It's different worlds. It's different worldviews.
Yeah. So thank you once again, Abdul Hala Mahmood. Here for. I'm sure that Henry Ford is so proud to see what his city has turned into. Again, thank you, GWAT, for importing all these people into Dearborn, Michigan, or as we call it, Dearborn Stan now. So wonderful, wonderful job all around. But again, this question is not going away of what is an American? Who is this country for? All right. It's not for Somalians. It's not for Syrians. It's not for Iraqis. It's not for, Nigerians or sub-Saharans. It's for Americans. Everyone knows what an American is. And this question is simply not going to go away. I've been told, before we went live here, and people have been talking about it in the chat, that Stephen Miller was on Fox News tonight talking much about the same. I haven't had a chance to watch this clip yet. I'll probably go and search for it after we're done here tonight, and maybe we'll talk about it next week if it's based enough. But, I mean, again, this question isn't going away. What is an American? It's the question of our age. And if people want to know more about that, they should be listening into American Spirits on Monday. You'll notice that nobody they talk about in that entire show is going to be called Abdul or Abdul Hala or Vivek. All right. Let's move on to the final story of the evening. Now, this is something that has very, very broad implications for 2026 and 2028 and beyond, okay? I've actually gotten some pushback from people talking about this, off air and off this show about how I actually do think from the people I've talked to either on the state level and just by the actions I've seen a lot of Republicans taking, that they do seem to actually be repeating much of the same corrections and good moves that they made in the presidential election of last year when Trump got elected. And again, this is another good one where it seems that they're actually trying to secure elections. So we've seen actions being made about redistricting to just basically remove Democrat positions throughout the country, electoral votes wise and other such things. But now we actually have a report from President Trump here that an executive order is coming down. We'll bring that up on the screen here in a second. Here we go. So here's from President Trump, Truth Social. Okay. I'm going to lead a movement to get rid of mail-in ballots. And also, while we're at it, highly inaccurate, very expensive. I love how Trump just has to bring in like the cost and price of literally everything. And seriously controversial voting machines, which cost 10 times more than accurate and sophisticated watermark paper, which is faster and leaves no doubt at the end of the evening as to who won and who lost the election. We are now the only country in the world that uses mail-in voting. This is very true. We've discussed this time and time again. This is even something that your Fox News boomer, family member knows, that the United States is the only one that engages in this level of just blatant fraudulent voting systems that we have all across the country. So back to President Trump, and I quote, "All others gave it up because of the massive voter fraud encountered. We will begin this effort, which will be strongly opposed by the Democrats because they cheat at levels never seen before, no lies detected, by signing an executive order to help bring honesty to the 2026 midterm elections. Remember, the states are merely an agent for the federal government in counting and tabulating the votes. They must do what the federal government, as represented by the President of the United States, tells them for the good of the country to do." All right, and we can go on and on about this. But yeah, so there we go. An executive order is coming to ban mail-in ballots and voting machines for elections. So very, very good. This is one of the more important things in campaign promises that Trump made. This is just for the future of the existence of the Republican Party as a political force. You just literally had to do this.
Yeah, I hope he forces blue states to do this. Right? Like I really do. This is a way to ensure that the Republican Party will continue increasing its electoral margin, because it's the biggest open secret that the Dems just have their machines.
Oh yeah, I mean the point that is really important to stress in this one as well is talking about how The states are merely an agent of the federal government in this one. So the argument being is that the federal government is actually the ones that are overseeing the elections, and the states are just acting on behalf of the federal government. So because you're acting on behalf of the federal government, this falls under the federal government's purview. If the federal government says we will only accept votes under these specific conditions, and you didn't meet them because you either tallied your votes via voting machines or you had an excessive amounts of mail-in ballots or whatever, we are going to declare these votes null and void. They will not be counted because you broke the rules set forth by the federal government.
You could just throw out a whole blue state's votes and just tell them do it again. You can legitimately do that.
Yeah. This is perfectly acceptable. No issues detected. Well done, Mr. President. No doubt they're going to get fight back on this one. But as far as I'm looking at this seems very legally sound. I mean, how could you argue against this? I mean, like, it's obvious that the states aren't actually the ones that are, at the end of the day, being the host of the elections. It's obviously the federal government. So, well, I like it. Well done, Mr. Trump.
Yeah, I mean, again, like this is literally just upholding the law. And the only people who oppose it are people who want to instead put in place their own law, which is Browns run everything, and white people are now banished to the corners of the earth, and that's what they want to do. So yeah, it's just clearly ideological. And as long as we're keeping up the pretense of law, if we can get this done legally, that's fine. But at some point, it's just going to turn completely existential, and then I don't know where we're going to go from there. Hoping for a nonviolent solution. Violent solutions tend to be inferior.
Well, that brings us to the close of all of our stories tonight. It's a pretty good show. We covered a lot of ground tonight. Mr. Fahrenheidt, thank you for joining me. Let's tally up the rest of these super chats. So, scrolling back up to Paulie B for $15. He says, "Keep your Bible by your side and your powder dry. Salute." Thank you very much, sir. Buckthorn Bear for $5. "I got nothing clever. Just take my money." Well, we will happily take your money, sir. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. The Panther Awakens. I saw him in Mr. D's space the other night. So some guys are moving over from the chat and are tuning in to the old Mr. D chats. So it's kind of like an elite club. Only certain people are listening to those. Anyway, for $15, he says, "I'm behind the live feed, but Paul's SOF, I'm guessing that's
Special Operations Force.
Yep. Rant is right on the money. Many such cases." Yeah, I agree. From everything I've experienced and heard from people, no lies detected. Cringe Walker once again for $5. "This is literally the easiest case of trying a mayor. This should be the bare minimum." Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, get this guy fired.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Joshua BB for $2. "I'm calling Matt Walsh next doc. What is an American?" Yeah, I hope Matt Walsh starts talking about that stuff more. Maybe that's what he's referring to. But and then James Tolstoy sends us $10, and he says nothing. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it. Alrighty. I believe that is it for the super chats tonight. So, Mr. Fahrenheit, do you have anything to shill?
No, nothing. I wrote an article for the OGC earlier this week about NASCAR. So if you want to read about NASCAR as a way of understanding American politics. So if you haven't read that, I recommend you all go read that. But also read the other wonderful articles we put out on the OGC Substack. Also, I am back on Twitter, but I'm not going to say the username or what. But for those who know but haven't heard, I'm back, so you know where to find me.
People know they know. All right. For myself, I wrote a piece for the OGC. It came out last Friday, relating to the whole Charlie Kirk assassination and the death of discourse. That was very, very well received. So people can go check that out. I will also be streaming my hunting games again on Sunday on my own channel. So you guys can go check that out. I'll be playing Cabela's Pro Hunts once again. So if you want a little chill gaming session on Sunday, head on over there and you can check that out. So other than that, we will be back here for American Spirits on Monday, where, interestingly enough, they will be talking about Carl Schmitt. So be sure